It's great to be a part of this.
Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live, powered by Radio. Match number 4 of the 2022 Commonwealth Games will be played today between England and Sri Lanka starting from 10:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time at Edgbaston in Birmingham. So all the fans can catch the live action on Sony Live and Sony 10. But before we start previewing this exciting contest between England and Sri Lanka, let us have a quick look at match number 3 that was just played early in the day. It was between New Zealand and South Africa, which New Zealand went on to win by just 13 runs. So, batting first, New Zealand posted a fighting score of 167 for 2 in 20 overs, thanks to captain Sophie Devine, who scored 48, and of course the veteran in Susie Bates, who top scored with an unbeaten 91. Whereas for South Africa, the left-arm spinner in Nonkululeko Malaba was the lone wicket taker for the Proteas. In reply, South Africa did put up a strong fight in front of the White Ferns as they managed to score 154 for 7 in 20 overs. However, in the end, they fell short of just 13 runs. Chloe Tryon top scored with 39 runs for the Proteas, while for the White Ferns, it was again the skipper in Sophie Devine who was the most successful bowler, picking up 3 wickets in her 4 overs. So this was in brief the summary of match number 3 that was played early in the day. Now moving on, we have a riveting contest between England and Sri Lanka. And to preview this match, I have with me Dhanush Lavanya, Neha Shetty, and Polly Starkey. So, brief introduction of all the guests out here. So, Neha Shetty is a cricket content writer and a cricket podcaster. Then we have Dhanush Lavanya, who is a cricket content writer, cricket analyst, and a cricket podcaster himself. And finally, we have Polly Starkey from England. Yes, the hosts of Commonwealth Games. She herself is a cricketer, cricket writer, journalist, and also is a cricket podcaster. So I welcome all of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. So before we start previewing the match, Neha, you were the only one who predicted that New Zealand will win out of the 4 guests that we had early in the day. So your quick thoughts on the match that was played between New Zealand and South Africa today.
Right, I don't want to flex, but as you rightly pointed out in the previous session, I did predict the White Ferns would win, even though the other panelists had pegged South Africa for the win. But in all seriousness, I think New Zealand was so good. They didn't look rusty at all, coming from such a big gap from their last match. And batting first, putting up that commendable 167 is no mean feat, right? Bolstered by that amazing knock of Susie Bates. And the cameos that Sophie Devine and Amelia Kerr chipped in with was phenomenal. And later we saw how Sophie Devine picked up 3 wickets too. It only goes to show how valuable she is in any team as an all-rounder, right? And South Africa too, as you rightly pointed out, did put up a good fight. But obviously, losing the wickets didn't help their cause. The lack of partnerships, the inability of their openers to give them a good, opening stance was probably not ideal, and the middle order just couldn't quite accelerate in spite of the good starts. So they will have to introspect, and I think they will make a strong comeback. But seeing New Zealand win and starting off on a good note was nice to see.
Absolutely. And now, as we are talking more about England and Sri Lanka, yes, of course, in the coming few minutes, we'll be talking more about that. We are joined by an exciting guest from Sri Lanka, Vitini the Elvis. And I would like to give a brief introduction of Vitini. Hello, Vitini. How are you?
Fine. I hope you all are great too.
Great. So let me tell all the viewers out here that Vitini has cricket running in her blood because she's born to parents who both played cricket for Sri Lanka, and her mom was the captain of the Sri Lankan team during the 2000 World Cup that was played in New Zealand. So Vitini, indeed it is a pleasure for us to have you out here.
Thank you for having me. Really honored.
Great. So, Polly, moving on to you. England are the hosts of the Commonwealth Games. So, if you can tell us more about how the atmosphere is there back in England.
It's remarkable here in Birmingham. I'm so lucky that I live in the host city. And just walking around, there's a massive buzz around the games. People are talking about all sorts of sports. People are watching sports they've never come across. So, for example, cricket being one of them. And it's just such an exciting time to be living in the city. And we had the opening ceremony a couple of days ago, which was amazing, just celebrating the culture in Birmingham and how diverse our city is. And we've seen that reflected at the cricket games already. And that's something I'm absolutely loving here in Birmingham.
Great, wonderful. So, Vitini, let me ask you that how excited are you to see women's cricket making its debut in Commonwealth Games, and of course, how happy are you to see Sri Lankan team featuring in that?
Definitely happy because our girls, I know personally how much our girls are fighting, like how much our girls, compared to many other countries, our girls do not have that, that level. I guess, so many countries give prominence, right? And especially if you take a country like Sri Lanka, the prominence you get into in the male industry is relatively lower to what you get here. So I think having these girls seeing them walking at the entrance for the opening ceremony, it really gave me chills just looking at them, how proud they are. And it's a nice feeling. Thanks. That's great.
Amazing. So let us hope that Sri Lanka is able to put up a good show in Commonwealth Games and we are able to see an exciting contest between the host nations, England, and of course, Sri Lanka. So, Neha, moving on to you, of course, England hosted South Africa just before the Commonwealth Games. So, how do you think that series would have helped England's preparation going into the tournament?
I think it really helped massively. We know the England women's team is one of the best teams in the world. They have quality players. You have Nat Sibber, Heather Knight, Amy Jones, Sophia Dunkley, Danny White, Catherine Brunt, Sophie Eccleston. The list is just endless. The playing 11 literally picks itself, right? Now, they were in excellent form as well. They whitewashed South Africa in both the ODI and the T20I series. So that shows the kind of confidence they're coming in with. And considering they were playing at home conditions and the Commonwealth Games is at home, they would, try to make the most of the match practice and everything they know about the conditions too. And I think it was the perfect confidence booster, ahead of this Commonwealth Games. And I think the series also provided them an opportunity to try out different team combinations. And even Heather Knight did miss out the last couple of matches owing to her injury. So it gave Nat Sibber that opportunity to, captain as well. So all in all, I think they are in very good touch and serious medal contenders, I must say.
Absolutely. So, Polly, let me ask you that Heather Knight is unlikely to play the first fixture against Sri Lanka, which is just a few hours away. So, how big a loss is that going to be, given that the captain is going to be missing?
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a big concern for England because Nat Sibber is a great captain and we've seen her captain before and she knows what she's doing. I think also England just have so many options at the moment, and in some ways that's not always a great thing because you never know who to select. But when something happens like Heather Knight being injured, actually there are people that can take a place. Alice Capsey, only 17 years old, but she plays a very similar role in the team to Heather Knight. She can bat high up in the order and she can bowl a couple of overs. So I don't think England are going to be too worried. Obviously, if Heather Knight ends up being out for a longer time, that is a concern. But I think with the experience of Nat Sibber, I think they should be all right, especially for this game.
Right. So let us hope a speedy recovery for Heather Knight. I think she's suffering from a hip injury, so let us hope that she is up and running soon. So Dhanush, as we are talking about England's captain, let us move our focus to Sri Lanka's captain in Chamari Atapattu. We all know that she's a world-class all-rounder. So do you think Sri Lankan team is overly dependent on their captain Chamari Atapattu?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, Shamrat Pathu have been one of the most promising players in history of female cricket, especially in Sri Lanka. And I think you and I can both agree on the fact that she's one of the finest players. Her style of play is the most suited for this particular format, the T20 format. For instance, her cover drive, and my personal favorite.
Right. I think there has been some issue with Vitini. Dhanush, if you would like to take this up. I'm sorry. Just a second, please. Is Vitini audible to all of you?
No.
No? All right. You just hold on for a few moments, maybe. Okay. Vitini, can you unmute yourself, please? Vitini,
I,
can you
I
unmute?
was
Sorry,
sorry
yes,
about.
you were on mute actually.
Yeah, because my phone it doesn't support iOS. I don't know, so I just joined through my phone. Uh,
Oh, okay,
I was,
okay.
I think
Yes, yes,
been
you may go on, please.
yeah, exceptionally in form. I think she scored about 125 runs in the past tour against India, and during the qualifiers, I think we all saw she did fulfill her role as a skipper and as a top order batsman. And I think she won woman of the match in majority of the matches she played. However, on the other hand, champions England also do have a couple of fine players, both batting and bowling. Therefore, Chamari Atapattu's role, her confidence, and most importantly, her runs, um, it's very much important to put a tough score on the board. And also, I would like to add, since Chamari Atapattu is an opening batsman, her keeping her wicket is very, very much important for a country like Sri Lanka, especially because the runs we could gain from her as an opening batsman is much needed. And as always, her runs are very quick compared to the other batsmen we have. So even if our wickets fall or the middle order collapses, the quick runs that we gained by the skipper will help build the score, slowly and steady. However, I would like to make it a point, just like Chamari Atapattu, the role of all players of the team is very much equally big and needed. And I think, including the skipper, all will do a great job at today's match. Yes.
Absolutely, Vitini. So I think there is Chamari Atapattu, and of course there is Nilakshi De Silva, who's one of the finest batters in the Sri Lankan lineup. So Dhanush, let me ask you that they will be facing the likes of Sophie Eccleston, who of course is the world number one T20I bowler. So how difficult is that going to be for Sri Lankan batters?
Oh, it's going to be a challenge. Sophia Eccleston is like the most unreadable bowler in the women's cricket currently. Like she doesn't matter which opponent she is bowling, she just can't be read by anyone. Is what I personally feel, and I think that she has been in a great form. She had an amazing World Cup. She was the highest wicket taker in the World Cup that happened in March, with 22 wickets, and she has been having a great year as well. So I think that it's going to be tough for Sri Lankan women, especially because to say apart from Chamari Atapattu, no one else has played a single match in England yet. They are playing their first match, and that will be against the home side. So it's and in the big stage of Commonwealth Games. So certainly it's going to be a big task. It's a uphill battle, is what I will say for the batters of Sri Lanka. Let us hope that they just come out and play with all the freedom, like how Barbados played yesterday, and maybe we can have a different result at the end of the day, and it would be a huge result if Sri Lanka manages to win this.
Oh. While England has Sophie Eccleston, they are of course led by Catherine Brunt in the pace department. So, Polly, Catherine Brunt is going to play her 100th T20I in just an hour's time or so. So, how important has the role of Brunt been over the years for England, and what are your expectations from her in the Commonwealth Games?
I think Catherine Brunt is remarkable, and there's a reason she's about to play her 100th game, and it's because she is so good. I think the thing for England that's so good about her is not only is she a wicket taker, but that passion and fire she has on the field. You can't name many other bowlers that are quite like her in that respect. And the age she's, everyone talks about, oh, she should retire, things like that. But actually, she's got so much left in her to give, and I think she'll just thrive in this sort of environment where she's part of a bigger thing than just the cricket team. She's Team England, and I think for her that means a lot, and especially with people doubting her, I think that just pushes her on further to do well. And I think she's going to be vital in the game. And she might be rested across the tournament a little bit, but she's just an important player in that England side, and she's a real match winner. She can bat, she can bowl incredibly. So I'm very, very excited to see her play.
Great. Same here. I think even I'm excited to see Brunt bowling and, of course, opening the bowling for England. Right. So, Neha, Sophia Dunkley, she has started opening the batting for England just in three T20s that we have seen against South Africa. So, how good has that move been from England? Because it seems to have paid off for them.
I think it was a really smart move to, push her right up the order. Now, she has been rewarded thanks to her explosive batting during that ODI series. And she has had almost 350 plus scores in the last five white ball games, including that maiden century in the ODIs too. She's flexible. That's something that I really like about her. You can push her any way down the order or up the order, and she will always deliver. And that crucial 59 not out that she got versus South Africa in the first T20, she was just super impressive. And considering, England took a very bold call of dropping Tammy Beaumont, having Sophia Dunkley right at the top of the order with Danny White is probably the best that can happen to their batting, because it gives the rest of the batting also, some time to settle in and everything. Because we know she's going to give you those explosive good starts, because she's been doing that down the order too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing her excel in this Commonwealth Games.
Great. So, Dhanush, if we look at the head-to-head statistics between England and Sri Lanka, England have dominated them all the way. I think they have won 8 out of the 8 T20Is against Sri Lanka. So, what do you think should be Sri Lanka's approach? What do they need to do differently to get the better of England?
I think they need to just play with their strengths. They don't need to think about what the previous history has been. They are coming into this tournament with a win in the previous T20 match they played against India. So definitely that has to be there. There was something that worked out really well in that T20 game for them, where everyone stepped up and performed well. They just need to get adjusted to the conditions, and they just need to play and show their skills, bowl and bat based on their strengths, and that's the only way they can make an impact in this game. At the end of the day, it's going to be a team effort, and it's important. It's not just Atapatu who is scoring the bulk of the runs, and the rest of the team is just hanging in there. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a two-way side where everyone needs to support Atapatu. She might be the most experienced player in the side, but the youngsters also have to step up and give her the support, and that's the only way they can be competitive in this game against England side. Otherwise, it's going to be a landslide from the host.
Right. Just as Dhanush mentioned, that probably more and more players from Sri Lankan team need to step up and, of course, assist their captain Chamari Atapatu. So, Vitini, let me ask you that the bowling department of Sri Lanka, they have some good spinners in Inoka Ranavira, Oshadi Ranasinghe, and also some good fast bowlers, of course, in Udeshika Prabodhani. But what do you think should be the bowling strategy of Sri Lanka? Because we know that England has a star-studded batting lineup. So, what do you think should be the bowling strategy of Sri Lanka?
Yes, definitely the bowlers must stand strong and give their best to the team, because something I personally see is that our bowling and fielding is relatively greater than our batting lineup, right? So in case of matches like today against a tough team like England, our bowlers must focus on the wickets, like gaining the wickets and the runs, because that is one main way to keep up to a calm score, I'd say. And just bowlers such as Inoka Ranavira, a magnificent left-hand spinner bowler who captained her team back in England at the 2017 World Cup, which I was there, and I personally saw how great of a bowler she was. And then she did a marvelous job. I have to take this opportunity to say that she's a great bowler. And then we have Oshadi Ranasinghe, a prominent all-rounder, more known for her bowling attack, especially if you look closely at the Indian tour of Sri Lanka. Her consistent bowling attack has been an heads up, an advantage to the team, I'd say. And definitely at the beginning of the year, when the girls toured to Pakistan, she picked up 3 wickets with just 18 runs, and with a super economy of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 4.50, which resulted in the collapse of the middle order batsmen in the Pakistan tour, and it led to a massive victory. And we also have fast bowlers, like you mentioned, Udeshika Prabodhini, Amar Kanchana, who have been a massive support throughout. Equally important, other spinners like Kavisha Dilhari, Rashmi De Silva, another youngster who debuted at the Indian tour, who've been picked up crucial wickets at crucial times, will play a big role at today's match. And having to see such young talent blossom, especially against a team like England, is something I think we all have to be proud of. And I think all efforts of all bowlers will be equally important at today's match.
Let us hope to see some good bowling performance from the Sri Lankan team, which could give a run for the money to the England batters. So, Polly, we have already seen three matches in the Commonwealth Games. So, how do you assess the pitch and the conditions at Edgbaston?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one actually today because there's been a bit of rain about. So about an hour ago, there was quite a big shower, and I think in fact the covers were on at Edgbaston, so that will obviously be a factor for tonight's game. I think the spinners have quite thrived on the pitch, and so that'll be interesting to see if the teams play more spinners. I think in terms of generally the ground, I mean, the England players do have obviously the home advantage, and they've got a few players that play for Central Sparks whose home ground is Edgbaston. So, you know, Izzy Wong, Sarah Glenn, Amy Jones, they know this ground inside out. And so they'll feel very comfortable here. I think in terms of what we've seen in scores in other games, it seems that around 160 is par, but I think England will want to try and get 170, 180 maybe. They'll want to, you know, use their batters to the full extent and actually show what England can do. And they've shown that with their change in tactic in terms of we're not going for big individual scores, we're going for really high strike rate. And we saw Sophie Ecclestone do that in the last T20 against South Africa. So I think in terms of the pitch, I don't think that's too much of a concern at the moment. But I suppose as we get more in the tournament, you know, the wickets are going to get more tired and it's going to be a bit more difficult. But I think today is kind of England's prime time to set a big total.
So a high scoring contest could be on the cards, according to Polly. Right. So Dhanush, any key matchups that you're looking at in the England Sri Lanka game?
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to see how Chamari Atapattu plays against Sophie Ecclestone or Catherine Brunt, because she's the opening batter for the Sri Lankan side, and these girls will come in the early stages of the game, and I feel that like how Vitini said, Atapattu will be the one who is going to play the anchor's roles, playing as many overs as possible and then staying in there in one end. So definitely, it's going to be important for her to play against these two really world-class bowlers, and it's going to be a challenge for her for sure. And at the end of the day, I feel that whatever Sri Lanka scores today, it's going to be majorly contributed from Chamari Atapattu, and it's going to be important for her to be conservative and play risk-free shots against these women.
Right. So we are getting many questions from our fans, but before we start taking them, maybe we can have some quick predictions from all of you. So Neha, if we can start with you, what are your predictions for today's game?
Right. So, as I previously said too, England is one of the medal contenders, considering the kind of squad they have, the playing 11 they're going to present, and the matchups and everything. Now, despite the home advantage, another thing that's going to work in their favor is the fact that they have proven match winners and they are acclimatized to the home conditions as well. But Sri Lanka, on the other hand, will probably is lacking on the fact that they don't have enough match practice, and they had a tough series against India too. So I think England women are clearly the better balanced side and obviously in form, coming from the victory too. And Sri Lanka, on the other hand, is a young team. They're inexperienced, heavily dependent on Chamari Atapattu. So it will be an uphill task for them to, actually defeat England. So I think England women will start off as favorites.
Vitini, do you agree with Neha, or what are your predictions?
In terms of score, my prediction today would be, if it's a good score, my prediction would be around 185 to 200, I guess. So it would be, if so, it would be the highest total the team would surpass in this format for Sri Lanka. And I think it's the best to go with batting first, because earlier I saw at an article the pitch at Birmingham. I think it's fruitful for the batters, and batting first at this such venue is high yielding towards. So it's high yielding towards the batting side, and having a bigger score prediction would boost some level confidence as well. So plus I know it's not impossible if the plan goes accordingly. Chamari Atapattu and the other batsmen score and wickets fall. Having to put a big number will definitely not be impossible when you can see young talent and very talented individuals all around giving their best. So I hope they will keep their spirit high and give their max today at today's match.
Great. So Polly, what are your predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think England are going to win, but I I have a feeling that Sri Lanka aren't going to just give that to them. They're going to really put up a fight. And, you know, being at a big multi-sport event, there are a lot more eyes on the cricket than would be normally. And so I think with that kind of added layer, that extra, I feel like Sri Lanka will be really fighting for this. And I don't think they're going to win, but I think they are going to challenge England, because England haven't been particularly challenged against South Africa in the series previously.
Finally, Dhanush, your predictions.
Yeah, I guess everyone have pretty much given summed up it pretty well. Definitely on paper, before the match, England are going to win. Home conditions on their side. Had a great series against South Africa, and it's quite predictable as well. But like how Pauli said, it's going to be not so easy. It's going to be challenging, and I hope that Sri Lanka come out with a open mindset and just come out there and play their natural game. Don't be pressurized by the stage that they are in or anything like that. Since apart from Atapatu, everyone are playing their first match in England, so it's going to be a big challenge for them. But I feel that England will win at the end of the day. And as far as batting is concerned, I feel Sri Lanka will choose to bat first if they win the toss, because their batting is on the weaker side, and their bowling is pretty much on a better side if you see the playing 11. So I feel it's going to be a toss and bat first situation for Sri Lanka, and England can manage with anything, I guess. And with what you're saying, that there are quite some showers out there. I just asked before the match, and I think so it will be overcast conditions as well. So fast bowlers will be the key players to look out for, like Catherine Brunt for England, and like bowlers like Amakanchana for Sri Lanka. So let us see how the game goes on. But England are clear favorites going into this game.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the predictions, all of you. Now, if we can start taking some questions from our fans. All right. So Arun Kumar has this question for us. How big a gamble is it from England to have dropped Tammy Beaumont? Polly, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, so I think at first when I heard the news that Tammy wasn't in the squad, I was shocked. I was quite angry, actually. I thought, how dare you drop someone so good? But I think actually England's reasoning behind it and their new kind of method of having really high strike rates has clearly worked. So I think moving Sophia Dunkley up the order and have her open with Danny Wyatt has been very successful. And so I think in a way it's now not a big gamble, because they had that opportunity to test it with the South Africa series. And, you know, Tammy Beaumont still has a very much solid place, I think, in this England side. But for the T20s, they seem to have worked out this new format to win. And I don't think it's that much of a gamble anymore. I mean, if you asked me that question 2-3 weeks ago, I would have had a very different answer. But I think now we've seen it in practice, I think it's not too much of a problem for England at all.
Right. Great. Next, can we have the next question, please? Okay. Harsh is asking us, Chamari Atapatu's dip in runs and consistency against big nations, isn't that a factor on how the side goes about? Dhanush, would you like to take this up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there hasn't been not much of consistency from Atapatu when it comes to her performance in the recent times. Even though she was the highest run scorer for Sri Lanka during the England series. If I look at the record, she has like the worst strike rate and least amount of runs against England in T20s. So definitely, it's going to be tough for her. It's going to be a challenge for her to score runs against this English side. And also, girls like Harshita Madhvi or De Silva, these women have to step up, because they have been part of this setup for like 3-4 years, and they have got used to it in this T20 setup of Sri Lanka. So it's important for them to step up and be a support for Atapatu, and that's the only way they can be competitive in this game.
Right. Great. Thanks for your answer. Can we have the next question? Okay, cricketing is asking us, will England miss services of Anya Shrubsole, or have they gained quality to some level in their young pacers? Neha, would you like to answer this?
Absolutely. England will miss the services of Anya Shrubsole because, having Anya Shrubsole at one end and Catherine Brunt at the other, they were just brilliant, right? Bowling in tandem, so good. But we have youth in England that can actually, really step up. And case in point, Issy Wong, right? She's been so good in the South Africa series as well. Then you have Freya Davis. Nat Silver, you can never really write her away from the game, right? With her economic spell, she can certainly keep a check on the runs too. And obviously, Catherine Brunt. So, no concerns at all, even though a big player like Anya Shrubsole won't be there, but you still have youngsters who will be stepping in. And the spinners too, right? Sophie Eccleston is there. You have Alice Capsey who can, contribute with the ball a bit. So I think England is all set.
Great, great. All right. Can we have the next question? Okay, Test cricket is asking us, Sri Lanka actually has got a good bowling attack. Where do you pundits rank them? Vitini, if we can start from you, how would you rank the Sri Lankan bowling?
I can't I can't hear you guys.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. So maybe till the time Vitini joins us back, maybe if we can start with you, Dhanush, how would you rank the Sri Lankan bowling out of the 7 other teams that we have?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of promise in that bowling unit. If I take up the bowling unit here, it is just having some really good talent. And Ama Kanchana, she was like the most economical bowler in that match against in the third T20 which they won. And they have Sugandhika Kumari, they have Kavisha Dilhari, who are some of the well seasoned spinners in their side. And with the likes of Rana Singhe and Ranavira. I guess it's a very good bowling unit, and like how Vidini was saying, it's a better bowling unit than a batting unit, and they rank up as one of the best bowling units for sure in this tournament, and they need to make the best out of it, is what I feel.
All right. Okay. So I think we have one final question from our viewer. If we can have that up, please. Okay. Nisha is asking us, England have clear intentions of playing an aggressive brand of cricket. Will buzzball now be a reality in women's cricket as well? All right. Polly, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think obviously from the men we have seen this kind of new style of cricket, but then also from the women in the T20s, and I think maybe it won't be branded quite baseball, but I think Danny White and Sophia Dunkley, they seem to be playing a much more aggressive style. I mean, even we saw Alice Capsey, she got like 4 fours in a row, and so I think we are seeing this kind of new generation come through of especially young players who are just absolutely fearless and will take on world-class bowlers with absolutely no fear. And I think that's great to see. So I think England have got this kind of new technique, thinking about the strike rate and just, I suppose, whacking it and hoping for the best. And I think that seemed to have worked by now. Whether that will continue through the Commonwealth Games, especially when England may come up against teams such as Australia or India in the latter stages, will that work? I don't know, but I think it's a good kind of technique to continue with for now.
Yeah, I think it is refreshing to see the aggressive intent shown by the English batters in the recent matches that we have seen. Neha, what is your perspective on this?
Absolutely, England has been really good, and I think even Heather Knight in one of her press cons spoke about this ultra aggression that they want to use in the power plays to, maximize it, make the most, just score as many runs as possible. And the very fact that they've put Sophia Dunkley right at the top of the order with, Danny White, with Danny White, goes to show that they want that aggressive intent right from the start. And although Tammy Beaumont is such a MVP player, still omitting her from this shows that intent that they want the runs on the board. And T20 cricket is a fast-paced format, right? You need those massive strike rates, you need good runs on the board. So if baseball really does become a reality in women's cricket, nothing like it. High scoring matches.
Wonderful. Great. So thank you once again to Polly, Dhanush, Neha, and of course to Vitini for sparing your time and talking to us about the England-Sri Lanka game that we are going to witness in an hour's time. And thank you to all the viewers and fans for watching our show. We'll be back again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Indian Standard Time to preview the exciting contest between India and Pakistan. So do join us for a conversation tomorrow at 2 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.